Good morning. This is VirtualPBX admin training. Just going to make sure the everything is streaming properly and give people a couple minutes here to get signed in. The training lasts about an hour and a half or so. Just depends on load times and basically how scatterbrained I am. So we'll try to keep both of those to a minimum. We do record these trainings. So if you can't stay for the entire time, that's fine. You can always come back and watch the rest of the training later. That also allows you to share the link with other staff members who may need to make use of or may be an admin on your account. Feel free to make use of YouTube's chat feature to ask questions about various features, and I will try to address those questions at the time that I see the question. I do try to keep an eye out for it. And I think that should get us to our start time. So on our page here, you see our dash login page, which is at dash.virtualpbx.com. You can also get here for the virtualpbx.com website. There's usually a blue bar going towards the top of the page that has a login link there. For admins, I do recommend bookmarking this page, just so that way you can get here quickly and easily. Now, to get signed in, we need 3 pieces of information. First, we need your email address. If you just signed up, that would be the email address you used when you signed up. We need your password, and then we need the account name, typically your company name. If for some reason you don't have this information or you simply forgot like your password, down here at the bottom right, just above the sign-in bar, we have a forgot your info link. You click on that, it flips it over. We still need your email address. And then we need either the account name or a phone number on the account. Right? That's one of your customer-facing phone numbers. Then you click on Reset Password. The system will send you an email. It will have a login link in that email. You click on that, and it logs you directly into your account page where you can change your password, and that logs you out. All right. And it takes you back to the sign-in page. So you enter your information here. And you can also click on the Remember Me link or checkbox. And then you click on Sign In. Now, I'm using a test account that I sign into on a regular basis. So by default, the system is going to take me here to my dashboard page. If it's your first time logging in, the system is actually going to take you to your user account page. And you can always get back there by clicking on your name up at the top right corner. So I'll just click on my name here. And here again, now I'm on my account page. The main thing people change is their password, right? It's something they can remember. Now, as a system admin, you can also get to the account level settings over here on the left. The most common thing that's changed is time zone, so it's in the proper time zone for your company. If you need to change the name of the account, you're going to need to email our billing team. That's billing@virtualpbx.com. That way they can make sure that everything is linked up properly with the account name change in terms of subscriptions and all the billing stuff. Also, that first login, the dash wizard pop-ups will be showing up, basically telling you what things are, a little tutorial. Once you're done, over here towards the top right, click on the little close box. Now, that should take you right back here to our dashboard page. Again, the dash wizard pop-ups will come up telling you what some key things are. Those pop-ups will also return on the user tab and the groups tab. So on our dashboard page, again, up here at the top, you have your name, right? You click on that, takes you to your account page so you can change your own password. For most of you, to the right of your name, you'll have a D&D toggle, or do not disturb. By default, it's disabled, right? If you click on it, you enable it. That means you are not accepting calls. Now, the reason my user does not have that is my user is a member of an ACD queue. So once I was assigned to be a member of the queues, the D&D toggle was removed, right? Those two features do not work well together. Tend to cause problems. Okay. Next up, we have a little hat icon here. If you click on that, oh, it is not showing up. Normally, you have a sub menu show up here. You have 4 options, or 3 options always. One is chat with us, which will open up a chat window at the bottom right. So you can chat with a support staff member. Then there is learn more, which opens up a new tab and takes you to our support pages. And then there's the online store, which takes you to opens a new tab, takes you to store.virtualpbx.com. And that's where you can order things like a VoIP phone, a router, etc. A fourth one that sometimes shows up would be the web phone. That's after you've had to add a web phone device to your user first, and then logged back in. And then once that web phone option is here, it opens up a new tab, takes you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. That allows you to use Chrome or Firefox on a computer to make and receive calls. Not quite sure why that's not showing up. It has in the past. Oh, I actually moved the chat into its separate bubble here. Then we have the menu icon here, 3 horizontal lines. This takes you to other dash features. All right, we'll be on the dashboard for the majority of this training, but we will touch on these other subjects. And then the little logout icon, right, arrow to the right. Here on the main dashboard page, we have total users. So I have 23 people on my account, right? These are people who make and receive calls. Most of our plans are based on a per user basis, so I'm paying for each of these people. I have total devices. I have 38, and then a breakdown. First up is the soft phone. This is a software application that uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. Right, so that could be the VirtualPBX soft phone app. That can be someone else's soft phone app. Then we have cell phone. Most of us know what that is. SIP phone. This is a piece of hardware, right? So it's a physical phone. Typically connects via an Ethernet cable to your router to get out to the internet, so then I can make and receive calls that way. Web phone, again, is that Chrome or Firefox. Oops. Device on a computer. Here I have unregistered devices. Yeah, I have 2 of them, and that's in relation to my SIP phones, right? So 2 of my physical phones are not registered, meaning I can't send calls to them. That could be they're not plugged in right now. That could be that that location has an internet outage, right? Could be something, just like a router setting. Next up, I have total phone numbers. I have 33. Your account includes some number of phone numbers as part of your monthly plan price. 33 typically over any of those on our typical plans. So I'm paying an overage on a per number basis per month. Then down here, I have 2 breakdowns. The first is assigned numbers and spare numbers. Assigned number means you're using it, right? Someone can dial that number and speak to someone or leave a voicemail or join a conference or be sending a fax. Right? Spare number counts towards my allotment. I'm just not currently using it, right? So it could be I had a promotion that just ended, right? And I'm like, okay, I don't want to take any more calls on this promotion that's no longer in effect. Or likewise, I could be getting ready for a President's Day promotion that's coming. I'm like, I want to get a number specifically for that so I can track how well these promotions do, depending on the information I get. But I don't want people calling in on it ahead of time before it's ready to go. Down here, I have a breakdown between USDID and US toll-free. US toll-free is US Canada toll-free number, right? So 800 number, 888, all the way down to 833. USDID, that just means a US local number, right? So if you have a phone number in San Jose, California, USDID, just like if you had one in Houston, Texas, right? Still USDID. You can have an international phone number if you are so inclined. You will want to email our porting team, and that's porting@virtualpbx.com. They'll need to know the city and country that you're interested in having a number in. If they can get it, they'll say so, one way or the other. If there are additional requirements from that country, the porting team will also let you know what those requirements are. Once the requirements have been met, then we can get the number for you. Down here, I've got conference bridges, 5. That means I've enabled the conference feature on 5 of my users, right? So 5 of my staff members are hosting or moderating conferences. Over here towards the top right, I have my main number box, right? So these 4 phone numbers, they all behave the same way, right? So they're all going to the same location. They're all going to play the same main greeting, for example. Down below that, I have my conference room number. You can have multiple conference room numbers if you want, but they're going to the same set of conference rooms. But everyone dials this number to join a conference, right? Whether they're your vendors or your clients or your staff members, they're all dialing this number to join the conference. Your main fax box number, you can have the one main fax box number, and this is your inbound fax number. It also enables the account to have outbound faxing if you are so inclined. Next up, we have the company directory. This couple download links. The first one is a CSV file, so just downloads a spreadsheet file. It's going to show your staff members' names, their extensions, and their devices. The soft phone is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone app. Right, so you would download this file and then upload it to your VirtualPBX soft phone on your Mac or Windows PC. And this would allow you to see the status of the other VirtualPBX soft phones on the account, right? So you can see the presence of them, right? Whether, like, if my coworker, so if VirtualPBX only used the VirtualPBX soft phone app for all their staff members, I could see if my coworker Mike is on a call or not. It's like, oh, his soft phone's red. That means he's on a call. I should wait till he's done, right? Now, unfortunately for me, VirtualPBX, my colleagues, we use a variety of devices. So some of my colleagues have Yealink phones or Cisco phones, Polycom, etc., as well as the VirtualPBX soft phone. So even with the soft phone directory download, I can only see the status of their soft phone. Like if, say, coworker Mike is on a call on his Yealink phone, I'm not going to be able to see that from my soft phone. All right, VirtualPBX Store. If you click on this link over here to the right, this will open up a new tab and take you to store.virtualpbx.com, where you can, again, buy a VoIP phone or a router, etc. The account realm, every account has its own account realm. It's used for a couple things. First, it's used to program or provision a third-party soft phone. Right? So someone else's soft phone app, this is one of the 3 pieces of information you would need. The other thing it's used for is to send a fax. So currently on Dash, to send a fax, you don't actually need to log into your Dash account. You do need to use your email address that's associated with your user. You create an email like you normally do. In the to field, right? So you click on new message, right? In the to field, you put the plus sign, the number 1, and then the area code and phone number you're faxing to, little @ symbol, and then you paste in your account realm. Then all you need to do is attach a PDF or a TIFF file and click send. Right, so our system, it looks at the to field, the from field, and the attachment. It doesn't look at the subject line. It does not look at the body of the email. It's only going to send out one attachment. The largest file I've been able to send is 7 megabytes. But that's, again, that took a long time. All right, up here towards the top middle, we have the caller ID button. If I click on that, it's going to expand out. This is your main company caller ID. This first pull down, which doesn't normally show up on my streaming software, lets you choose any of your main numbers, right? So those 4 numbers over here just to the right that are now grayed out, you choose any one of them. And whatever number I choose, that becomes a default number for a variety of different things. Like any of my VoIP phones by default use this phone number as their outbound caller ID. Right. Next up, you have the company call ID name. This is optional. This allows you to enter 15 characters, including spaces or special characters in this box here to the right, that we transmit as part of your outbound caller ID. Again, you don't have to do that. The company emergency information, E911, the system wants a North American address. And then down here at the bottom, you click on Save Changes. Once you click on Save Changes, if you entered information in the company caller ID name field, CNAME is what it's referred to in the telecom, that information gets transmitted to the other carriers who support it, that feature. It takes them approximately 3 business days to update their servers. So then when you pick up your VoIP phone, make an outbound call, right? This phone number gets transmitted automatically, as does this information that you have here. Now, when your call goes out, it can go through many carriers before it reaches its destination. If one of those carriers does not support CNAME, the CNAME information does not reach your destination. Even if the CNAME information reaches your destination, that carrier, so let's say you're calling your mom who's on an AT&T network phone somewhere, right? When the call comes into AT&T, AT&T can decide to pass that information on. They can say, no, we don't like your information. We're going to look up that number on our own set of databases and put that information in. Or just choose to not send that name information. It'll send the number through, right? The number basically goes through every time. On top of all that, the cell phone carriers, so like AT&T Wireless, they don't participate in CNAM. In fact, many of the mobile carriers, they want to charge their cell phone subscribers an additional fee in order to have the CNAM information show up on calls that go to their cell phones. So just having information here, it's not going to get to out to every call you make. Hold music. Dash allows you to upload your own media file. You click upload here. You need to find a .wav or .mp3 file recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Click the up arrow icon and then click on Save Changes. This will be the default hold music for all your staff members. Now, what that means, call comes into your system, it reaches your staff member Bob. Bob picks up the call, answers it, needs to press hold on his VoIP phone. When he presses hold, that's when this music file will play. Now, hours is part of main number, so let's just go right to main number. All right, main company numbers shows all your main numbers. Down here, below the numbers, this is where you can add more numbers to be a main number. Right, so if you don't have any here, this is where you would start. Add from spare numbers, this means you're reusing a phone number, right? Or you're using a number you haven't used yet. You just click on the box in front and click on Add Selected. By numbers, you have the option of local or toll-free. Toll-free, you choose the toll-free prefix you want to work with, and then you click on Search. Now, the system will display a list of numbers that are currently available. Now, you find a number you like or multiple. Now, once you click add, you haven't reserved that number or anything. So if I walked away and went to lunch right now and came back, it's possible that someone else finished this buying process and added the number to their account, and I won't be able to get it, right? I'll get an error message. So once you're sure you have the number you like, make sure you just click buy numbers here at the bottom. The system will then make sure that the number was available, activate it, and add it to your account. Local, you need to know the area code that you want a number in. Just do a search. Any area code, including the toll-free prefixes, you could get this message here, right? And this just means that the area code is exhausted, meaning there's no readily available phone numbers in that area code. Normally what I do when I encounter this is I go to Google and I search, in this case I would search area code 310 overlay. And that would tell me that the overlay area code is 424. And there I'll have numbers, right? So overlay in telecom, it just means 2 or more area codes that share the same geographic boundaries, right? So 310 and 424, this is in Los Angeles, right? There's several area codes in the Los Angeles area. I'll just add one here. But you would run across that in say Miami or in Dallas and whatnot. If you need an area code in a specific or phone number in a specific area code and it's coming up as nothing is available, you can email our porting team and we can attempt to do what's called a back order. which basically means is saying, hey, if a number becomes available in this area code, we try to acquire it and then add it to your account. Now, we can't tell you when that's going to happen, right? Because we're waiting on someone to give up their phone number. That could be tomorrow. That could be months from now, right? And obviously, there's no choice in the number. It's just, hey, this is the one that came in available. Add it to the account. Now you got this little gear icon next to the numbers, and this gear icon shows up in almost any place where the phone numbers show up. Caller ID, right? You can update the outbound CNAM information, and you can turn on the ability to accept inbound CNAM, right? So that means if when I call into this system, my name would show up and would be also be transmitted to your staff members, so they would have an idea of who they're speaking to. E911, each phone number can have its own E911 address. Excuse me, I think I added too many ones there. And the reason for that is that means you can then use these numbers and these addresses for your individual VoIP phones, right? So if you have staff working remotely, you can have a phone number set up with their proper E911 address, and that way on their VoIP phone saying, hey, for E911 purposes, use this caller ID, right? So that way, if your staff member has to dial 911 from their VoIP phone, the correct address is transmitted to emergency services. Prepend is a VoIP phone feature. This allows you to put text in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones. It gives a heads up about what the call might be about. Once you have phone numbers, you can set up your office hour strategy. You have 24-hour open office, right? Meaning you're open 24/7, so you're only open. Or you can do custom office hours. If you select custom office hours for each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark in front of that day. And then in these boxes here to the right, you select your open hours in 24 hours or military time. So most of the days I'm open 9 to 5, although it looks like on Mondays I'm open at 6. Down here towards the bottom, you have the option to say that your system is closes for lunch at the same time every day. So if you put a check mark there, you just put your lunch hours in 24-hour or military time. And then you click on Save Changes. Office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, click on this check mark. And then over here to the right, click on Add Holidays. You have your option here for single day, date range, or advanced. Clicking on any of these will create a new row. Right? And then you need to give a name for your holiday. Select the month and the date. Click on Save Changes. Right? For date range, like I have here for Christmas break, gave it a name. Start date, end date, Save Changes. There's no year indicator, so as a precaution, we recommend that you don't include a date range that has New Year's Eve and New Year's Day together. You can have one end on New Year's Eve and another one start on New Year's Day. That's typically fine. I haven't run into it being a problem, but it's a precaution. Advanced is like I have here for Thanksgiving. Give it a name, month, and then here I have the middle pull down is first through fifth, excuse me, as well as last, and then the day of the week. Click on Save Changes. If you need to remove a holiday, click on the little trash icon, click on Save Changes. Incoming call handling. This is the big deal here. So for my main numbers, which I have 5 of them now, right? Because I added that 424 area code phone number. During my open hours, I'm having calls go to my virtual receptionist. During my after hours, I'm having calls bring to my front desk group and then go to my virtual receptionist. After hours, I'm saying, hey, calls go skip right to voicemail. Or sorry, holidays. Calls go straight to voicemail. So these 3 options here will always show up. This 4th one only shows up in a couple circumstances. One is if we had to do some kind of customized build on your system, where we made a special call flow for you. Another is if your account has multiple auto attendants and you made one or more of those auto attendants available in main menu, then this option would also show up. Those are the most common reasons. All right, so back on my open hours, calls come in, they go to my virtual receptionist. This is a link. I can click on it. It's going to open up a big window. Over here on the left is my main menu. This is where you set up what buttons people to press on their phones to get through your phone system. All right, you would click on Add Route down here, gives you a new row, and this pull down, you can select 0 through 9, the star key, and the default action. And then this other pull down is you're telling the system where to send the call. Now, where you're sending call, you need to have those created before you get to the virtual receptionist, right? So you need to have your users, your voicemail boxes, groups, etc. You need all those in place, and then you'll have them as options under your virtual receptionist. Right? So user directory, right? Your dial by name directory, etc. Users, any of your staff members, right? So you can press a menu option and speak to a specific person. If your staff member doesn't pick up their phone, right, then the call goes to that user's voicemail box. Call queues, if you're making use of ACD queues, then you can set up a queue as a menu option. So for like if you call VirtualPBX and you press option 2, you're going into an ACD queue to speak to one of our staff members. Groups are also similar to queues, right? So queues are an upgrade feature, whereas groups are an included feature, right? Groups have limited routing options. You can still ring it to multiple people at the same time, but just not as many routing options as the queues. Devices, you can have a menu option go to a specific phone. Now, this isn't always recommended just because if someone doesn't pick up or that phone doesn't have built-in voicemail, you might lose the caller. And then you have a menu option go to your voicemails, boxes, excuse me. You can send it to a media file, which once the media file stops playing, the call ends. And even then, it only plays for a maximum of 20 seconds. And then advanced call flows if you have anything like, if you have multiple languages, so you want calls to come in, and you want to give your callers the options of 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, 3 for Chinese. Well, each of those would be a submenu option that would be under your advanced call flows. You would need to have multiple auto attendants to make that happen. Now over here on the right, you have your greeting options. Right, this is where you say thank you for calling, your organization name, and then instructions, right, in terms of what to press to get to where. First up is text-to-speech. You can type in your greeting. The system will allow you to type in up to 250 characters. Does not count spaces. You can sometimes, I've had some greetings go up to 300 or so characters, but 250 works consistently. Once you click update, then save and save changes, the system will save the file name for you. Right? In this case, it'll be my main open hours menu TTS, right? Because I'm on my main, this is my main menu during my open hours, and this is the text-to-speech greeting. Let's say I have this greeting here, and I didn't like it when I called it in. I'm like, oh, I forgot, whatever extension number. I type it, I just go in here and edit it. Once I click update, save changes, now I'm gonna have 2 files called main open hours menu TTS. And that can be a problem from any of the pull down options. I won't know which one is which. So if you make use of TTS greetings, I recommend once you create it, go to your greetings tabs over on the left, which we'll be getting to shortly, edit the file name, right? Make it something that you can recognize. The text-to-speech greeting is good to start off with if you've never used a PBX system or your startup company, right? You're still trying to figure out how things are going to flow just because there's no charge associated with it. You can upload your own file, right? Just choose the file on your computer, MP3 or .wav, recorded mono under 1 megabyte, and then click update. Choose from existing recordings. It's going to have a pull down that shows all the files on your account. And literally, it's all your voicemail greetings, all your main greetings, all your hold music files. Everything will show up here. So that's why you want to use names that you could recognize relatively easily. You can record it over the phone. Now, by default, the system wants you to use a VoIP phone on the account. That's a security feature, right? Because the VoIP phone's registered, so the system knows, hey, it's part of this account. It's okay for it to change the main greeting. If you want to use a cell phone or landline, like you have that friend who's got that good radio voice, what you would need to do is come down here, down here under settings, and then you go to allow outside recording and turn that on. Just this one here, right? So that allows a cell phone or landline to call in the system and change the main greeting. Now, when you call in, if you don't have a greeting in place, right, the system will tell you that the greeting for this menu has not been created yet, and then it will prompt you for the PIN number, right? And then you would give it this PIN number, and then it would walk you through recording the new greeting. If you have a greeting in place already, let's say you started off with text-to-speech greeting, and then you got feedback from customers saying, that sounded really weird. I wasn't even sure if it was, a legit business, right? So then you're like, okay, let me use my voice. So you call in, right? You hear the text-to-speech greeting. You can still enter this PIN number during your open hours, right? And then it will prompt you to walk you through recording it over the phone. Now, in that scenario, right, where there's a greeting in place, the system doesn't let you choose a file name. It just reuses the existing file name and you overwrite the content. So in this case, you would have a main open hours menu TTS, but that's actually recording. Now, this PIN number is only good during this time of day, right? It's not going to work during my after hours or during my holidays. Professional recording services. When you click order, this opens up a new tab and takes you to Snap Recordings, where you can order a greeting done by a professional voice actor or actress. They have, I don't even know how many to choose from. They have different versions of English and Spanish and French. You can do multilingual greetings. They have hold treatment, right? They bill you directly, right? They basically ask for your credit card. They deliver it to you via email, and then you would come back to upload your own file. All right, stings. Number of retries on missed dial. This is how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. Right. So when I have one retry, that means my inbound caller can make 2 attempts to get through. Right. That's either, choosing a correct menu option or entering a valid extension number. After that second attempt, then it would either go to the default action, or if there is none, right, there's no default action, then the system would end the call. And dialing timeout, this is how much time the system listens for additional button presses, right? So the caller calls in and presses 5. Well, that's not a valid menu option, and I don't have an extension 5. The system is going to wait for 5 seconds in hopes that this person enters in an additional digit or multiple digits, right, to maybe get to an invalid extension number, right? But after that 5 seconds, it then goes double checks if there's a retry available, and if not, then says, we did not recognize your entry, goodbye. Allow outside recording, we just covered. Allow dialing extensions. By default, this is on. And what this means is when the inbound caller, if they enter a valid extension number, the system transfers the call, right? If I turn this off, that means my inbound caller can only press my menu options. If they enter an extension number, the system treats it as an invalid entry. And then lastly, there's suppress the playing of invalid entry. So if my callers call in and they keep pressing invalid entries, but I have a default action and I don't want the system to play that message, we did not recognize your entries, and then it would, transfer the call. If I don't want that we recognize your entries message, I would turn this on, right? So I suppress playing of that message. If I don't have a default action, right, and after that last retry, the system says, we did not recognize your entries, and then says goodbye. So any changes you make to your main menu, your greetings, or your settings, you click save here, bottom right, maybe. and then you would click Save Changes here. Now, still under my open hours, I could change it instead and say, hey, start them off at the directory, or use this pull down. So I could, hey, ring Ariel here first, and then go to my virtual receptionist. And then this virtual receptionist would be the same that I just set up. Or if I go to my after hours, you'll see here I have it going to the front desk. If I click on this virtual receptionist, because it's after hours, it's a different setup. Right? So I have the default action going to Bob's cell phone. I would have a different greeting in place. Those different settings. Right, holidays, this is a pull down. Interesting. Basically, this pull down allows you to select the same things here, right? The directory, you can select users, you can select groups, call queues, etc. Right? It just has the extra option of skip the voicemail, and then you select the voicemail box you want it to go to. All right, the main conference room number. You can have multiple conference room numbers if you want, right? So you have the option here to buy new or add from spare. And then you can click on a custom greeting. This is a text-to-speech greeting. You can turn it on and enter your text here. Again, 250 characters. Even without this, right? If you leave it disabled, the system says welcome to the conference and then prompts the inbound caller, enter the conference room number and the PIN number. The main fax box number, you can only have the one, right? That's why I don't have the options here to add. And then here you can click edit fax box. Inbound fax notifications. This is where you enter in an email address, and this email address would get an email every time a fax comes through, right? So that email would include the date, the time, the phone numbers involved, and then a PDF attachment. If someone dials your fax box number, say from their cell phone, and then hangs up when they hear fax tones, this person would get an email saying that there was a failed inbound fax attempt. So that's something to be aware of. The email permissions, this is designed to put your company email domain. And when you do that, that means everyone at your company can send a fax out via your Dash account, even if they're not a user on your Dash account. All right, auto attendance. Oh, I bet you that's what's going on. All right, so auto attendance is a plan-specific feature, meaning it's on some plans and not others. So one of the use cases I already mentioned, which would be submenuing, right? That one for English, two for Spanish idea. The other reason you would have it is if you have multiple businesses. So like you have like a dog walking business and a cleaning business, right? They would have their own phone numbers, their own main greetings, but you can have the same staff people answer calls for them. Up here at the top, you would click on Add Attendant. You would give it a name and then an extension number. Click on Create Attendant. Now, the extension number would only be useful for your staff, right? You would not expect any of your customers to know, but it would allow your staff members to transfer calls to another attendant, right? It's like, oh, you're speaking Chinese. Let me send you to the Chinese attendant, and that can get you to the Chinese-speaking staff member. Once an attendant is created, you can click on its name, and it defaults to being unavailable in main menu, right? Meaning it's designed to be a standalone attendant. If you click on it, then it'll flip and say available in main menu, meaning now it's a submenu option. You also have the option here to delete if you don't want it any longer. Otherwise, you click on Save Changes. Auto attendants can have their own phone numbers, right? So you can add from spare or buy new. You can click on the extensions box, so you can add multiple extensions if you want them to. And then the settings, little wrench icon here. This will expand out. And here you see I have open hours, after hours, and holidays, right? This will match what we set up under your main number, right? So it has the same hours of operation. So if you have multiple businesses, but one is 24/7 and the other is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you definitely want to talk to our account services team. They still may be able to have your account set up so it's under one account, but depending, again, they'll have to, they have their qualifying questions about it. They may still need to have you with multiple accounts, but it's still an option, so you would want to talk to them. All right, devices, standard feature, shows all your devices on the account. A red device means it's unregistered, meaning we can't send calls to it. Now, in the case of a soft phone or a web phone, right? So this is a web phone just by the name. That could be the person's just not signed into it, right? So let's say Jean hasn't started her shift yet, so that's why she's not signed into her web phone, right? Black means you've turned it off over here under the enable column, right? And then green, like way down here, means that this device is signed in, meaning you can send a call to it. Now up here at the top, you can add new devices. First up is SIP phone, right? So this is that piece of hardware. You have these manufacturers to choose from. Some have a lot of phones to choose from, some only a couple, right? But you find the phone you're working with, and then you give it a name, right? Bob's phone, right? Or warehouse phone. And then you need to get the MAC address of the phone. That is typically a sticker on the back of the phone. If the phone's plugged in, you can normally find it under like its status or basic settings. And you would enter that information here. Then you click on create device. Now, once a device is created here in the dashboard, you would want to come over here I have something blocking my window here. But under advanced, oh wait, that's not going to work on this. This is a web phone. So under the SIP phones, when you click advanced, you want to select or click the wrench, hit advanced, hit miscellaneous, and then click on the block on the box next to unlock or allow reprovision, and then click on unlock, then click on save changes, then assign the device to a user. Now, within our dashboard, that's all you need. However, you need to get into the phone's web user interface and then basically input a URL. Basically tell the phone, hey, go here, get your config file. For the specifics of that, you would want to go to our support pages, and you're looking for the document called auto provisioning phones. Cell phone and landline are essentially the same. You give it a name, and then you put the phone number, right? +1 area code and phone number. I don't know if it's going to allow me to click on one of these that are, all right. We're going to fudge this a little bit. So this is how a cell phone or landline looks, right? You want to give it a name, and then that +1 area code and phone number. We go to advanced options. This is the default setup for a cell phone or landline. So when we send a call to a cell phone or landline, right, the phone will ring and you'll pick it up and you'll hear a message from the system saying, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. When you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you are there, yes, you want to take the call. That's great if it's your actual cell phone, right? Or there's someone, a person there to pick up, to press that one button. Let's say you contracted with an automated answering service, right? So they gave you a phone number, say, hey, just send all your calls here and then we'll handle it. So what you would do in that case is you would still create that as a cell phone or landline device on your account with us. But under this advanced option here, you would click on this box in front of allow use of cell phones voicemail. What that does is we no longer give you that message about this is a forwarded call, nor do we require pressing 1. Instead, when we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call. Right? So there's no additional interaction necessary, and that's great for an automated answering service. If this is your actual cell phone, what can happen is your cell phone voicemail can pick up, and we would treat that like a connected call. Right? So that means your voicemails could end up on your personal cell phone voicemail versus your Dash or your VirtualPBX voice box. Oops, that's not what I wanted. The other thing I wanted to show is for soft phones. When you add the soft phone on the devices page, you can only add a third-party soft phone. So if you want to make use of the VirtualPBX soft phone, you need to actually add it on the user's page directly to the specific user. Right here, this is just a third-party soft phone, so you would give it a name. You would copy and paste the SIP username, click on the SIP password box. Don't change this, but copy and paste it. Right, and then realm. Those are the 3 pieces of information you would need to program or provision your third-party soft phone. Oh, also, I wanted to show right here under advanced emergency caller ID, right? You can select account default, or you can select any of your phone numbers, right? If it has an address associated with it, then it would show up here. So that way, when this device is used to call 911, that specific address is sent to emergency services. And then you would click on Save Changes. The Greetings Manager, this shows all your media files on the account. Voicemail messages, text-to-speech, main greetings, hold music files. All right, here you see the name. Then you have the source, which is, right, upload means you uploaded a file. TTS means text-to-speech, recorded over the phone. You have this column here, lets you play back the media file right directly in your browser. If for some reason that doesn't work, then you can use the download column to download the file to your device and use a different media player to listen to the file. A little wrench icon here that allows you to change the name of the file or delete it altogether. Let me trace. It's still dead. Okay. Groups, short for ring groups or hunt groups. This is an included feature. Up here at the top, you click Add Group. You give it a name and an extension number. You click and drag your staff members that you want to be in the group, and then you click on Create Group. Once a group is created, you can click on its name, you can change the name, but you can also adjust the group call attempts. This is how many times the system will offer the calls to your group members. Right? Got little arrows over here to the far right, so you can increase or decrease it as necessary. And click on Save Changes. You can also delete a group if you no longer need it. You can then also click on the members box. So this shows all your staff members that are in the group. This is a blast all or ring all setup. Basically, call comes in, it rings everybody right at the same time for the same amount of time until someone picks up. Up here along the top, you have timestamps, and you can edit this last one. And you can also click on Distribute. So now, in this setup, right, Bob always gets a call first, right, and then it cascades down. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the system will not skip Bob ever, right? So call comes in, Bob answers it, he's helping a customer. Second call comes in, the system will still try to ring to him for 20 some odd seconds, and then it would go to Aaron, etc. right? So if it's a busy day, we'd probably want to adjust the ring times so that you have that second and third callers aren't waiting on hold as much. Likewise, you can click and drag people so you can change the order, right? Click distribute again, and now I'm first, right? And I can move Bob to the back. Let's say I want Bob working on a special project, right? So then I can move him to the end. Down here, I can add additional staff members, right? So if I, especially it's like very busy and like everyone's on a phone call, I need more people here. Quick way to add. You can remove people, like it's no longer their job responsibility, and then click on Save Changes. You can click on the extension box so groups can have multiple extension numbers if you want them. Groups can have their own phone numbers if you want them, right? So you can add from spare or buy new. Now, a phone number on a group, it's not an auto attendant number, it's not a main number. So that means it's available 24/7. It does not have hours of operation. Then we have group features. Ring back. If you enable this, you can have a media file play instead of the sound of ringing. Right? So call comes into a ring group, reaches out to your staff members. When your staff member phone starts to ring, that ringing sound is transmitted back to the inbound caller. Right? Ring back. If you don't want that sound to be transmitted to your call, you can enable this and have a media file play instead. Right? .wave, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Then click on Save Changes. Next up is next action. To me, this is the most important feature. When you enable it, it's if no one is able to pick up, what do you want the system to do with the call? And you select from this pull down, right? So you can select it to another group. You can send them back to the main menu. You can select it to a specific voicemail box or to a user, etc. And then click on Save Changes. Allow call forwarding. If you enable this, that means your users can use call forwarding, right? Instead of always being at their yelling phone, they're going to be on at a customer site. So like, yeah, let me make use of call forwarding. So when I'm not talking to that customer, I can still take calls from the group. Now, if your staff members have their cell phone as a device on their user, you don't need to enable this. Caller ID prepend for your VoIP phone users. When you enable it, you can either have additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones. All right, numbers tab. The numbers in use shows where your numbers are being used or where they're assigned to. You can't unassign a number here or assign a number here. It's just letting you know where they're at. But you got the gear icon here, right? So you can update the caller ID, E911 or prepend for a specific number. Under your spare numbers, these are the numbers you're not using, right? So if you want to remove a number from your account, click on the box in front of it. And now over here, you have the option to delete, confirm the deletion. And now the number is no longer on your account. Buy numbers, right? You can buy local or toll-free numbers, so they add just as spare numbers ready to use someplace else. A port will actually start the port process. Basically, you give it a name, you choose local toll-free, click next. Then you need to upload a PDF copy of your bill dated within 30 days. And then you need to fill out some forms, right? Basically, you need your address, the BTN, which is the billing telephone number. So if you're only porting one number, that's the BTN. If you're porting in more than one phone number, you probably want to double check with your carrier to which one is the actual BTN. If you're porting a cell phone number, please be aware that once that port completes, the cell phone involved, right, the actual device, will stop working until you get a new cell phone number from your provider. Most cell phone providers, when it comes to porting out their numbers, they require a PIN number. It's a security feature because they don't want their cell phone to suddenly stop working. It's like anywhere from 4 to 8 digits typically, but you would want to talk to them to make sure you get the right PIN number. You would need to download and or upload a completed and signed LOA. The LOA has for the address that your current carrier has on file for you. It does need a signature. Now, it can be a digital signature file, or you could print it out, sign it, scan it back in, right? But like typing your name in twice or printing your name in twice will cause a rejection and delay the port. In general, toll-free ports take about a week, right? 3 to 5 business days, if everything is correct. Local numbers average 2 to 3 weeks. I've seen some, complete the next business day. Others take a month or more. Just depends on the other carrier. The other carrier is the one who decides when they release the number to us. We don't have any kind of control over that. If we do get a rejection, we always double check to make sure there wasn't a typo. Or like in case of addresses, if there's multiple addresses we could use, we always try this, those addresses. But after that, then we say, hey, we're getting a rejection. You're going to want to talk to your current carrier to find out what the correct information is. All right, users. Up here at the top is where you add a user, right? Fill out the form, right? First name, last name. It should be pretty easy. Email address used for login. That needs to be unique for each user, right? So you cannot reuse an email to multiple staff members. Then you create a password for them, and then you enter an extension number for them. The system will suggest an extension number, right? So this system started off with extension 1000. So it's saying, hey, the next one in the series is 1000, looks like 22, right? But I can change that to whatever I want. The voicemail box for the user, this voicemail box would be intrinsically tied to the user. So for instance, you create this user, you add a VoIP phone to that user, it registers. That user can then pick up their VoIP phone, hit *98 on their VoIP phone, and then click, call or send. The system will log them into the voicemail box and then walk them through creating a PIN number for their voicemail box, as well as creating a voicemail greeting for their voicemail box. All right, so then they're all set up. Here, you can choose to have the user show user directory. You can always change that later. Send emails to an alternate email address. So if the system needs to communicate with a user, it does so via email. So like voicemail notifications goes to the email address used for login, right? Password resets. If you don't want those emails to go to the email address used for login, then you would put a check mark here and then add a different email address in the box that shows up. Again, you can do that later. You don't have to do it here. And then here, send the credentials to the user, especially important if you're creating someone to be another admin, right? But even your standard users, I would say typically put the check mark here. Create user. If you only need to create one person, create user and add another to start on a second user. Third. Once a user is created, you can click on their name. You can change their name. Here, you can change their credentials, right? Click on the link. You can change their email address. You can change their password. If my mouse would cooperate here, right there, you can click there to send the password reset to the user. Right? Let's say like they don't like the passwords you create for them. They can never remember them kind of thing. You say here, create your own. Change the PIN number for their voicemail box. Just enter 4 digits. Click on Save Changes. All right, here's your option here to send emails to an alternate address. Here's the option for the user directory. This pull down allows you to change a user into an admin or an admin into a user. This pull down allows you to change the time zone for the user, right? So that way their voicemail timestamps have the correct timing. Little flag icon here, this allows you to change the display language for the user. English, French, German, or Russian. The dialing timeout by default is 20 seconds. It's grayed out for Aaron because he has a feature called Follow Me Calling enabled. Extension box for a user. You can have multiple extensions for a user if you want. You can have a phone number for each user if you want to. Again, just like for groups, this number is available 24/7. Right, so no hours of operation. Device box for the user. Right, you have the same options as we did on the device page. For soft phone, I want to show this here. So this is where you would add a VirtualPBX soft phone to a user. Down here at the bottom, right? So it defaults you to adding a third-party soft phone, right? Because technically, there are probably thousands of soft phone applications out there that you could use, right? So there's more variety there. So hey, that's why it defaults to saying, hey, use third party. But if you click down here, right, just below the configuration link, right down here, now I can flip it to say use the virtual PBX application. Then you just give it a name. You click on create device, excuse me, and then you click on save changes here. Once you click save changes, this user gets an email saying, hey, your virtual PBX soft phone is ready. Here's your login information. Here are download links. Oh, also on the devices, it's typically easier to add the web phone directly to a user. And that's just because the web phone, it uses the dash login information to log in. Right, so it needs to be associated with the user to have that. All right, user features, caller ID number, you can only turn it on for users that have their own phone number. And then you can select their number, and if they have multiple numbers, you'd have to choose one. And then you click on save changes. And what that does is once that's enabled, the phone number on that user, that becomes their outbound caller ID from their VoIP phones, right? It overrides the company-wide settings, right? It says, hey, it's the specific overrides the general. Virtual text application. If you don't see this as a feature, as a new signup, you need to contact our account services team. There's going to be a new process in getting that enabled on accounts. But once you click enable, you select a phone number on the account. Now, that phone number is either going to be a main number, an auto attendant number, or a phone number that's on the user. You click on save changes, and they're going to get an email welcoming them to virtual text. So it is possible for a new user that they'll get 3 emails with 3 logins, right? The dash user login, right? So that dash.virtualpbx, right? So that username, password, and the account name. They can get a soft phone, right? VirtualPBX soft phone login information. And then they can get another email about the virtual text login information. Virtual text you can access via a web page or via an app on your cell phone. This allows you to text with your customers. The major feature is you can share numbers among your staff members, so that way you can have multiple people keep an eye on your main number, for example, and interact with texts that are coming in and out from there. Follow me. This is for users with multiple devices and allows you to decide the order of how they ring. Now, one thing to know, Aaron here has follow me. He's also in a ring group. A call from the group ignores the follow me settings, right? So basically he gets a call from the front desk group. Both of his devices here will ring at the same time. So that's one way to know, oh, that's a group call versus someone entering his extension number, in which, if that happens, right, his soft phone here would ring first, and then after about almost 20 seconds, then his cell phone would start ringing. Now, when you first enable it, this feature, the follow me settings, it looks like this, right? The system wants you to tell it what devices am I making use of, right? So like if you had like 5 devices, right, you could have uncheck 2 or 3 and leave the other 2 as do not ring, for example. Also, when you're first enabled, instead of looking like that, it looks like this. So you can click and drag the bars here to adjust the ring time. You can click distribute, right? This is just like groups where you can click and drag and adjust it how you want it to be. Right, there's a timestamp up here as well that you can edit, and then you would click on save changes. Fax box. You can have your users have their own fax box if you want them to. You don't have to, right? You would click enable. Then you have the option of adding from a spare number, buying a new number, or using an extension number. I recommend making use of a phone number. This way, the user can send and receive faxes. If you use an extension number, they can only ever receive a fax. They can never send a fax out. you also potentially limit who can send them a fax. Right? Most electronic fax services, at least that I've encountered so far, they don't have the capability or even allow you to try to send a fax to an extension. Right? They say, hey, enter the phone number, click send. No option for an extension number. So that's why I say use a phone number. Then you click on Save Changes. Conference Bridge, as an admin, you just click Enable, and you need to enter in a PIN number, and then click on Save Changes. You can choose to enable video conferencing. That's only going to work for your Dash users, right? Anyone outside of the organization will not be able to make use of video. And your staff members will be able to adjust the PIN number themselves under their user portal. Call forwarding, you have off, on, or failover mode. Now, your staff members can turn call forwarding off or on their own. Failover mode is something an admin has to set up. So what failover mode is, if Aaron's VoIP phone becomes unregistered and a call comes into his user at that time, the system will automatically forward the call to his cell phone number or whatever phone number you designated. Right? You choose mobile or desk phone, you put +1 area code on phone number, no spaces, dashes, or parentheses, and then click Save Changes. So now, if Aaron's VoIP phone becomes unregistered, call comes in, it gets sent to this 408 number. Now, if Aaron already has his cell phone number here, you don't need to make use of call forwarding at all because he already has a backup device. You just need to make sure it's set up as follow me, or follow me is not enabled at all, and in which case it rings both for all the devices at the same time. Customized call recording. You can record your calls. When you first enable it, you need to tell the system what kind of calls you're going to record. Inbound internal. Coworker Bob called Aaron. Do you want to record that or not? If you turn it on, that means you are recording those calls. Right. Inbound external, customer Mary called Bob, or called Aaron, excuse me. Right. Outbound internal, right? Aaron called coworker Bob. Right. Outbound external, Aaron called customer Mary. Right. And then you would click on Save Changes for whichever ones you're recording. Every account includes at least some level of storage as part of your monthly plan price. If you have heavy call volume and you record all your calls, you're going to want to talk to our account services team about AWS integration. This allows you to link your Dash account to your AWS account, right? So you obviously have to have an AWS account to make use of, but then you can store your call recordings on AWS's site, which for high volume is going to be more cost effective than with us. Music on hold. You can choose to have your users have their own hold music if you want them to. You just click enable, and then you upload a file, right? .wav.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. So for instance, if you wanted your salespeople to have one type of hold music, right? Saying, talking about special promotions that are going, versus say your support team who you want, no, if you're gonna have your own voicemail or own hold music, I wanted to be talking about, hey, go to our website to find our articles about our, the various support FAQs that we have, that sort of thing. Do not disturb. If you enable it, that means calls to the user are going to voicemail. Hot desking, this is a VoIP phone feature, good for like a shared office environment or hybrid scheduling. You basically give a hot desk ID. So if you're making use of 4-digit extensions, just make it their extension number is the easiest way. You can choose if you want them to have a PIN number or not. Not a big deal either. Click on Save Changes. So Aaron comes into the office on Tuesday. He sits down at desk number 2. He picks up the VoIP phone there, hits *11. That turns on hot desking on that VoIP phone. The system then asks him for his hot desk ID and or PIN number if you required it, and then tells him calls will now be sent to this device. So the rest of his workday, while he's sitting at desk number 2, calls to his user will ring at that phone he's sitting at. Right? End of his day, he picks up the handset, hits *12 to turn off hot desking. Next time he rolls into the office, let's say it's Thursday, right? Angela's sitting at desk number 2. He says hello to her, and he sits down at desk number 7. Picks up the phone, hits *11, hot desk ID. Now calls are coming to him at desk number 7. Voicemail boxes. This shows all your voicemail boxes on the account. Any voicemail box that has an entry in the third field here, the user, that means that was the voicemail box that was created with the user. If they don't have an entry here, that was either means it's the main voicemail box, which the system creates automatically, or it's a voicemail box you created up here at the top. Right? You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then you click on Create Voicemail Box. Once you do that, you can click on the little wrench icon here next to any voicemail box. So here, right, this is lets you review that information. So you could call in and check the messages on that voicemail box and delete them if necessary. Over here, you have greeting media. You can upload a .wav or .mp3 file, recorded in mono. Anything you have in the media file is like the default, right? Your normal media file that plays. If you select something under temporary, that will play instead, right? That's your out of office or vacation voicemail message. Once you put temporary back to none, then the normal media file will play. Recipients, your user voicemail boxes have one recipient built in, but you can click right here and add additional recipients. Obviously, if you create a voicemail box here on this voicemail box page, you want to do this to add at least one person, if not multiple. And then options. So once you have a media file in place and recipients in place, you can click here to click Already Set Up. You have here, by default, the system will attach the messages via email. You can choose if you want to delete after notification. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. After that, they are full. If you don't do the delete after notification, so if we uncheck that, your staff members have multiple ways to check voicemail. Right? So they'll have the email delivery so they can listen to it and react to it. But they can also they can call in, right? Listen to their voicemails over the phone. They can delete their messages over the phone, right? So they can get under that 100. They can also go to the user portal, right? When they log in to dash.virtualpbx.com as a user, right? So non-admins, they're taken to their voicemail tab so that they can listen to the messages there. They can delete them there. Now, if you have delete after notification checked, they have no opportunity to check their voicemails via the user portal or over the phone because there will be no messages there, right? Because after the system sends the email, it automatically deletes them. Oops. Call logs, this shows your call history, right? You have the current day. You can go to the current week. You can go through the current month or set a custom date range and then click filter. Each of those you can download. It downloads a CSV file. So if you're good with spreadsheets, you can gain some information and insight about what's going on with your calls. If you click on the little green arrow to the right, means an incoming call came into the system, and you can see here it came in and rang these two devices, and for how long. Right, in this case, right, the first device, no one answered, and then here on the second device, they rejected it. Right, they didn't press 1 basically. The fire hydrant icon here, this will create an email that's pre-addressed to support VirtualPBX, and it will include the technical details of the call. You are going to want to include the context, i.e., why are you sending this in, right? Because we're not going to see that. We're only going to see the technical details, which might tell us something, but not tell us, say, you had bad audio, or like your phone didn't actually ring, right? We won't know that just from the technical details. The little calls with a yellow arrow to the left, that's an outbound call. And so you can see here, Josh here used his, looks like his VoIP phone to make an outbound call. You generally want to see normal clearing. That lets you know the call ended normally as far as the system is concerned. In terms of the custom field, you can go back up to 12 months. Our engineers can go back a total of 18 months, right? So 6 more months. But after that, the data is not available. So if you need your call log information for any kind of compliance reasons, you'd probably want to make sure that's done every month, just so you don't miss anything. Feature codes, I've alluded to a couple of these, but these are a way for your VoIP phone users to access Dash features directly from their VoIP phone. Right? This is you can find this information also on our support pages, right? So web page there. There's also a document called the phone commands cheat sheet. It's a PDF. So it has all the feature codes, but it also has this contextual help there too. So you know how to better make use of it. All right, that's the dashboard. So next up over here, we have blacklists. Blacklists is an included feature. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you are blocking from reaching your system. You would, over here to the right, you would click on Edit Blacklists. If you don't have a list, you would click on Add. Right? If you have one or more, you click on an existing list. You need to give it a name, and then you choose if you're blocking anonymous calls or not. Right? So that means that someone's blocking their phone number from showing up when they make an inbound call, and this is on, they're not getting through. Right? And if your phone numbers they dial, they get a busy tone. Beyond that, you click here to add a number. You enter +1 area code and phone number, no spaces, dashes of parentheses, and keep clicking add until you're done adding numbers. Once you are done, you would click save. And then up here at the top, you go back to settings, or back to blacklist, I guess. And then you make sure your active lists are on the right-hand side under selected, right? You would have to click and drag them. Then you would click update here at the bottom right, and the numbers on those lists are now active. Number manager, this will basically just take you back to your spare number page. Reports, this will open up a new tab and take you to reports.virtualpbx.com. This is a plan-specific feature. Right? It's advanced reporting where you can create your own custom reports. Under our YouTube channel, you would want to go to or search for the advanced reporting demo, give you an idea of what can be done. And if then you're so interested, you'd want to talk to our account services team. Voicemails, this will take you to the voicemail manager. You can get to any voicemail box on the account and see if there are any voicemails. Right, if there are active voicemails, right, you'd be able to see them here, right, listen to them. You see the date, the times, and extension involved. You can put a check mark here so you can move it to a different voicemail box or even delete it. Call queues, this opens up a new tab, or call center, excuse me, opens up a new tab to take you to our call center page. These are for ACD queues. ACD stands for automatic call distribution. It's a call center feature. Like if you have called your bank, you've entered in a call queue, right? Or if you've called our support team, you've been in a call queue. Call queues, unfortunately, we had a recent change into it, so it doesn't show properly here on the streaming software. So, but on our YouTube channel, there's the ACD Queues Pro demo. That will show you how the queues work, how to make use of them. Basically, it has more routing options in the groups, right? You can do things like, you know, have calls route based on which of your staff members have been waiting the longest, right? Most idle. Or round robin, which will equalize out over time. Least calls, meaning the least amount of connected queue calls. Or least offers, which is the combination of missed and connected calls. The pro queues, you can do multiple hold music files, right? You can play one, each in different order, like announce their position in line, or the expected wait time for the inbound caller, etc. The call center, these are an upgrade feature, right? So if it's something you're interested in, you definitely would want to talk to our services team so they can get you the correct pricing involved. Dynamic caller ID, plan-specific feature. This allows you to create rules to change your outbound caller ID for your VoIP phones. So like this first one down here, right? I called it 408 area code. I selected this phone number on my account, and I simply typed in this rule. It says 408. So whenever my staff members dial a 408 area code phone number from their VoIP phone, this is their outbound caller ID. Right, and I click on Save Changes. And then here, for like LA area code, what I've done is, if my staff members start by dialing *550, and then they enter area code and phone number, the system will automatically change your outbound caller ID to this 323 area code phone number for them. Now, it's a little bit harder, right? Because they have to know to enter *550. But for an area like Los Angeles that has multiple area codes, it's probably a little easier to have the same phone number instead of having a bunch of different ones for the various area codes. Monitor. This is another plan-specific feature. Allows you to see the status of your staff members on the account. It doesn't matter what device they're using. It will show whether they're on a call or not. So here's showing everybody, right? Here's everyone who's available. Here's everyone who's busy. Likewise, up here at the top, right? I started off on employees, but I can go by specific device. Again, who's available, who's busy. Over here on the left, if there's an active inbound call, right, they would show up with an individual box and who they're speaking to. If there's a parked call, it would show up here, again, individual row and their parking spot number. The recording manager, if you're using our call recording, this will open up a new tab, take you to recordings via VirtualPBX.com. That uses your Dash login to log in, and then you can view your recordings there, right? You can listen to them, download them, delete them. If you're making use of AWS storage, I believe it actually changes the name, but the interface, basically takes you to your AWS, so you can again manage your recordings through us versus having to go through AWS directly. But some people prefer that anyway. Webhooks is a plan-specific feature, and you actually need to talk to our sales team because they have more information on this. This allows you to link your Dash account to other software. So the primary example is, for example, linking your Dash account to Zapier, right? And then Zapier can link to other, even more software, right? So you would click on New Hook. This is programming, right? So you'd have to create these parameters and then click on Create Webhook, and then Zapier would have to link here. We do have a webinar on our YouTube channel, an introduction to Zapier. You can also go to developer.virtualpbx.com. There you can see samples of code and what we have done in terms of linking Dash to other software. And then lastly, we have the user portal. Every user has their own user portal. It will default them to their voicemails tab, right? So they could see the date, the time, they could listen to the voicemail, they can download it. There'll be a box in front so they can change the status, right? To say it's listened or it's deleted, etc. Call history tab, they can view their call history and they can change the date range. And then click filter so they can see their call history. The fax tab, this is only good for users that have their own fax box. The contact list, this shows your other users and auto attendants and groups within the Dash account. Your staff members can't edit this, right? This is not something like your sales team, your sales members would add their contact, their client list here, right? This is just internal use, so you can make it easier to transfer calls. Conference tab, for any user that has the conference setting enabled. Over here to the right, they can update their personal PIN number as well as their participant PIN number. They can choose if people join muted or deafened. And they can choose if there's entry and exit tone played. When you're actually in a conference, they can come to this page. The little plus icon here, they can invite other Dash users to the conference. They can lock the conference so other people cannot join. You can mute everybody, you can unmute everybody, you can end the conference call. Also, while on a conference, each moderator has their own box as well as each participant. This allows you to mute specific people or even kick out specific people. And then you have the settings and devices tab. And right here is where your staff members can set up the call forwarding themselves. Right? They just need to put a check mark here, +1 area code and phone number, no spaces, dashes, or parentheses, and click on save. And they can also see the status of their devices. And that is everything. I haven't seen any actual questions come through via YouTube. So I am going to go ahead and wrap this up today. I thank you for your time, and we will be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Thank you again, and I hope you have a